Kim Hayden is a professional vocalist and songwriter from Dublin. After a successful run on The Voice of Ireland in 2013, she was asked to collaborate with well-known Irish artist Paddy Casey, and has since gone on to release her own music. We talk about her experience on The Voice and the types of work she's been doing since.
Gus, actually, my partner, is in that whole ad world, and it was nothing to do with him at all. It was Larry Hogan, actually. Do you know Larry Hogan?
I know the name, but not familiar.
Yeah, so Larry Hogan is, he runs a place called The Hub, and I did a lot of demo work for him. So I'd like, if there were songwriters that didn't sing, they would want a singer to, demo their songs.
Yes.
So I used to do that all the time with them. And then he got approached about, they were looking for female singers for the Boots ad. And I was like, oh, right, I'm probably never going to get that, but I'll just put in a demo anyway.
Yeah.
And then a couple of days later, he was like, yeah, you've been chosen to do it. And I was like, what?
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to get into that sort of thing, but I think I just didn't have the confidence there for a few years, but I definitely, I'm back in college now, obviously, so maybe after that. And have you done many other kind of, would you call it sync work?
Yeah, well, that's what we're actually, Gus and I are focusing on at the minute. So lockdown has been a bit of a blessing for that, because I found before, we were always talking about doing it. And I think after the Boots campaign, I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to be recording re-records and, of old songs and things like that. So he was like, right, let's do it. But the two of us were always gigging, that we never really had the time to kind of sit in the studio and do it. So since lockdown started, we have been just pumping out kind of demos and stuff like that. So we're just hoping that something breaks through, but we're kind of aiming towards the whole like Netflix thing and Amazon and stuff like that. So hopefully, I mean, the competition is huge, but it's just to be working at something, because obviously at the minute it's just so like weird for musicians.
It's crazy, but I think the route that you're kind of focused on at the minute seems like a very practical and realistic route, and it's it's something that as you said, you hadn't had time to kind of focus on before, so you're making great use of it now. So wouldn't it be cool to get on like something on Netflix or that?
Because I'm obsessed with watching Netflix and stuff, especially with lockdown as well. You go through binge watching of it and everything.
Oh yeah.
But we did so much research of seeing what was being used in the episodes and the seasons of stuff, and it was like a lot of them are re-records of old kind of 90s 80s tracks, just totally reconstructed into different versions. And I was like, I would love to do that, so we've started doing that now, and then adding in the odd original as well. But I think it is a really nice world to be in as well, because it's just like it feels like I always kind of was like, oh, it's covers. But if you're making it your own, it's kind of like you're reconstructing the whole song, which is great.
How do you make a cover your own?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah, like how does the process work?
We kind of like, we'd hear a song and go, look, do you think we could do a good version of that? And there's obviously songs that I would not go near, because, they could be just two classic songs and you're just like, no, I can't touch that. If the production and everything is just already amazing on it. But first of all, we go, look, can we realistically do a good version of this? And then kind of decide if we can. And then just mess around with it on the piano, kind of see what sounds nice. We'll change a couple of the chords. And if it's working, we'll just go ahead and do it. Yeah.
And would you change up the instrumentation much, or even like the vocal melody? Would you mess around with the vocal melody much, or the structure even?
You see, I'm real kind of picky like that, because I'm like, obviously being a songwriter myself as well, I'm like, I don't want to be disrespectful and completely change the song, because I've heard that done before sometimes. I'm like, oh, why did they do that with that song? But like, I would like to kind of change parts of it where it's like, you're not copying the actual vocal itself, you're making it sound like a different version or a more modern version to like what the 80s sounded like or whatever, so.
Yeah, I actually seen I can't remember the guy's name, but if I can think of it after, I can see his face in my head, but I can't think of his name. So I'll put a link in the description afterwards. But he had a video, I think it's on YouTube, so hopefully I can share it. He had a video and he was describing, I think it was him anyway, he was describing about kind of reworking songs to make them your own. And like his kind of golden rule was, leave the first verse the way the original is. Leave the first chorus the way the original is, and then play with it after that, so that you're kind of paying respect to the original melody and the songwriter and the vocalist who made it famous or whatever. But then you can put your own spin on it after that. So I thought that was an interesting kind of concept.
That is, because that's really, really good, because I even think like, you know, sometimes when we do them, like there is ones that we try and we end up working on it for like 2 weeks and then going, look, it's just not working, throw it away and then go back to something else. But like, what was I saying there? Oh yeah, so usually what happens is we do end up throwing them away if they're too unrecognizable at the start, because I just think people actually kind of sometimes can get a bit annoyed by that. They're like, why did they?
So by easing them in to the so like because people love to hear songs that they know, you know, which is kind of part of the reason why cover bands do so well and in venues and wedding bands and all the rest as well, like because it's a bit of nostalgia too, isn't people like to kind of hear the songs that they grew up to, or the songs they, you know, they got married to, or whatever it is, like, you know. So did you ever go down the wedding band route?
Yeah, I did wedding bands for, God, I think I started in my first wedding band when I was 22, and then right up until, I'm 33 now, so right up until, you know, lockdown. Are you?
Yeah.
Oh my God, yeah, because I remember actually in the competition we were the same age and I was like, But yeah, so since lockdown started, I was gigging right up until that, and then, you know, obviously that whole wedding scene just kind of
collapsed. Yeah, I know. And I think it was tough as well because a lot of the grants that were being handed out weren't for wedding bands. They were for kind of, you know, artists, like original artists and stuff like that. I don't know, was there any grants going for wedding bands?
No, not at all. No, like I was always kind of in somebody else's wedding band. I never had my own one. So like I was always working for somebody else. But I've you know, when lockdown happened and the weddings kind of died out, I just kind of decided when I started recording again, because I took a little break from recording. But when I started again, I was like, look, I want to just do this for a while now. And it kind of just made me fall in love with that. So I was like, oh, like, I don't think I'd go back for a while even, you know, to the weddings.
It takes a lot of energy to be gigging so often, and you kind of have to be full on energetic, you know, and because you're, you know, if you're playing weddings, you need people to get up and dance, and you know, there's a lot.
I did love it. Like, did you done weddings yourself as well?
Not really. I kind of started to dabble in like going to auditions and stuff for wedding bands, like just before I started college, because I was kind of in a place where in my life where I left retail and I was kind of trying to figure out what direction to go in. I knew I wanted to do something in music, but I didn't quite know how to do it or where to start.
Yeah.
So I did go for a few auditions. And I did, like, I got into a couple of different bands, one wedding band and then another kind of cover band thing. But they just didn't go ahead. Like, they weren't my projects, they were someone else's projects. And like, you know, I'd have a specific person ringing me, and like he rang me a good few times over the space of a year or two, and then just nothing ever happened. So I was like, eh. And then I was like, you know what, I'm going to go back to college. So I went back to college instead. So if I didn't go back to college, I probably would be in the wedding band thing now.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, it's mad how sometimes paths can just go different ways than you expect, you know. And I think that's exactly what happened with me with lockdown. I was like, I really panicked when it happened, and I'm sure every musician in the world did. They were like, what's going to happen now, you know? But it just made me fall in love with recording again. And then obviously I started teaching online as well. And I just kind of went, oh, look, I kind of am appreciating getting a bit of a break from the gigs, because I'd just done it for so long. And as you say, it requires such energy every weekend. And, you know, I loved it, but I am getting a bit older now as well. And I'm kind of like, I'm just enjoying kind of the whole creative process. And, you know, in my 20s, it was really easy kind of going around doing it. But I would I'm not saying I'd never do a wedding again, but I would do them, but just not at the extent I was doing them at years. Yeah.
Yeah, and like you've done a good bit of recording over the years. So let's go to The Voice of Ireland, if that's okay. We can chat about that a little bit. Yeah. Which I didn't even know you did until I went researching for this interview. I don't know how I was like, what the hell?
Yeah. Oh.
And I went, anyway, you did really well in it. How many weeks did you end up staying for? Was it about 6 or 7?
I think, I got up to the semi-final, which, to be honest, I don't know how, because a couple of my performances, when I look at them now, I'm like, oh my God. Like, first of all, why the hell would you pick a Whitney Houston song to sing? But, you know, I was only 23 when I did it. Like, it's 10 years next year, which is mad. But like, I think, you know, if it was ever to happen again, I would love to do a show like that again, but just to go into it with the experience of knowing exactly what suits your range and what kind of you want to sound like as an artist. Whereas then I look at myself and I'm like, I didn't have a clue about what to sing. I think I'd watched X Factor for so many years and I was thinking, you have to pick these big songs, you have to kind of, but like, you know, I did really enjoy the experience and it makes you learn a lot very quickly. But I would recommend for people to do it, but just be prepared, you know, of what you're going to sing and stuff like that, you know, because at the end of the day, you're out in front of a lot of people and you just, it's all about preparation really.
I chatted to another guest at one point about, because he actually did the Voice of Ireland as well. He was in the very first season, I think it was. What season was it you were in?
I was the first season as well.
Oh, do you remember Conor Ryan?
Yeah, I gigged with Conor as well in the wedding band scene.
No way! Yeah, that's who I'm talking about. Yeah. So about that, you know. I had a quick little look at a couple of the videos today, and I was just like listening to some of the feedback some of the judges gave you, and it was just going through my mind. What were you thinking when you were getting feedback, and did you learn from the feedback, or did you find it difficult to take, or you know how did that kind of feel for you?
Yeah, good question, because I remember the first week that I went on, I was absolutely petrified. I'd sang a Coldplay song and you know, I was so terrified. It was the first live show. And like that, I just wasn't prepared. But then I remember I expected to go home that night because I just got absolutely hammered by the coaches, you know, and I was like, I'm going home. First live show. I'm that person, you know. But then I got through and I was like, look, I have one opportunity now to kind of show that I can sing and that I can perform. And I just was like, I remember having a chat with Brezzy actually backstage, and he was like, Kim, you know, you wouldn't have got through to the live shows if you can't sing, but you need to control your nerves. Like you have to, or else you are going to go home next week.
Yeah.
I was like, right, okay, get myself together. And I think that that's what I do with my students now a lot as well, because I experienced so much of stage fright and stage anxiety, and I overcame it. It's just something that I love kind of injecting into people because it's so hard to get through that. I don't know if you ever experienced it yourself, that whole kind of stage panicky thing, but you know,
I feel like a very long time ago I did, and like then for years I felt anxiety, definitely felt anxiety, but more social anxiety, but for years I didn't really feel nervous gigging or performing. But then I had an experience, it wasn't quite performing, but I went to like a workshop down in Cork, and there was this performance coach called KJ Rose, and she was like really intense, like for an Irish bunch of girls, like, you know, like she was brilliant, but she really challenged us. Like she, you know, we had to get up and like do different tasks that she was asking, and she asked me to get up to do a task and I had to like perform a song, and then she was giving me different directions and asking me to do different tasks, you know, to kind of help build on the song. But I just had a panic attack, like, and I really felt that feeling of the dry mouth. My heart was pumping out in my chest. I was fidgeting. I was like nearly walking backwards out the door. She's like, "Where you go?" And I'm like, "Nowhere. I'm just really nervous."
Yeah.
And I was really glad to have that experience, because I felt I needed that reminder, because it's sometimes when students come in, they're nervous. You're like, "Come on, don't be nervous." But like sometimes you can't help it. Sometimes you just need to really work on it.
Yeah, and I just really remember that feeling so well of being on the stage, and it was just like my whole body was trembling, and then all I saw was this like red light in front of me, and it's like, that's the live camera. And I just was like, that whole, I think it was a minute 30 seconds you have of the song, and I just remember coming off going, what was that? Like, just what was that? And then you can't do anything about it. And you're like, oh my God. And I just remember getting really annoyed at myself, because I was like, look, you have been gigging, you know, the last 5 years. I know I was only 23, but I'd started when I was 18. And I was like, it's just ridiculous that you let it do that to you. And it's just kind of getting past that, you know, that anxiety of, I don't know, it's just an odd thing that happens when you get on stage sometimes. Like, I don't get it anymore, but God, I remember it so well,
What would be like the biggest piece of advice that you would give a student or somebody who is feeling just so nervous and really struggling with performance issues or performance anxiety?
You know, it's really kind of how bad do you want it? Like, you know, in how bad do you want to be in the industry? Because, you know, it's like, I remember saying that to myself as well. And, you know, you can't, if you want to do this as a job, you can't perform with, you know, obviously it is healthy to get nervous, but you can't let the nerves control you because it's just unenjoyable then. So if you want to have an enjoyable experience of being in the industry and being a performer, you have to be in charge of your body and your anxiety, and, you know, so it's really how bad you want to do it. And, you know, and just to believe in themselves as well, because, you know, to be able to even put yourself in front of me or yourself, you know, being a student and sing, they obviously have some amount of confidence to do that. So, you know, it's like you're able to do it. So just hold that feeling and kind of, you know, just hang on to it and be in control of it.
I guess it's about like showing a student what they can focus on, like breathing and like, you know, positive affirmations, and like focusing on the goal that they want to reach as well, you know, things like that.
Yeah. And being realistic about it as well. I think it's like, you know, it does take time to develop yourself and your craft and everything, and try not to rush into it. And I think that that's what I did very young. And I think I felt pressure from, you know, being the age under 25, and, you know, I was kind of like, oh, I need to do this before I get to 25. And now I'm like 33 and I'm like, what's the panic about? Just slow pace is better than, you know, rushing into stuff. And when you're younger, you feel like you need to like be settled down, be have married, have a good job, all this stuff. By the time you're 30, like, you know, and then you get to 30 and it's like, yeah, no, we'll make it 40. Then we get to 40, it's probably going to be the same, you know. 40, I'll do that. Yeah. I know.
And what was it like doing the battle? Was the battle, you got through the battle, because I had a quick look at it today, but what was it like? What was the feeling like, knowing that you're battling with like a fellow contestant to like stay on?
It was so weird because Rory Quinn was actually in it that year as well.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's funny, me and Rory, since that competition in Bondi all those years ago, we have been always kind of connected in the industry, you know, in the last 10 years. But he did the battle that night as well. And we were traveling in together in and out to the Helix. And I remember we were always kind of, you know, we can do this, you know, we can do this and everything. And it feels like you're going out in like a gladiator ring or something like that, you know, going down steps. But it felt kind of weird as well, because, you know, at the end of the day, it's like, I do kind of disagree with the competition thing, a singer against a singer, because obviously, you know, everybody has different strengths, and everybody, you know, what Alva had, I didn't have, and what she had, you know, that kind of vice versa thing. And it's like, you know, there was something I look back on now, and I didn't agree with the whole battle thing, but I suppose it is entertainment. It's a TV show, and that's just, if you don't want to do it, don't do it. But it does give a bit of a weird feeling. It's like bittersweet kind of.
Yeah. I know exactly what you mean, because like we met at a talent show. Like the first time we ever met was at a talent show in Stillorgan, like and the both of us have gone down the talent show route. Now, I didn't go down the route of going on a TV show, although I did audition for X Factor years ago when I was like 16, but didn't get on the TV. But I don't like competitions either, and like I don't like sending any of my students. I don't like putting them forward for competitions. If they want to, I'll help them to prepare, but I just don't like the idea of competition. I think it's just not very nice, and a lot of the time it's the way things are formulated is for entertainment, or, you know, like a lot of the pub competitions are like, it's not whoever has the best talent, it's whoever brings the most people to the bar. Do you know? I think that's kind of very deflating after a while, and you kind of feel like, why am I putting my heart and soul into this if I'm not going to get picked? Like every competition I came in, I came second. Every competition I was like
number one spot.
So close, but so far.
I know, you're like, I'm sick of coming second. I know, but it was the same with me. I mean, like, I don't know how many competitions I did when I was younger as well, and I never won them ever. And it was like, as you say, it's whoever's bringing the most amount of money into the bar and all that, and it does kind of dishearten you. And it's the same, a couple of my students are like, you know, they've done a couple of competitions and they're like, oh, you know, I never win. And I'm like, well, don't take it to heart. I know as hard it is, you know, to take that in. It is just something you learn with age as well, you know, that it's just I remember how upset I used to get from these competitions, you know.
I know, it is. it's very hard to have a tough skin, and it's not for everyone. I honestly think it could put some people off. I really do.
Oh yeah.
If I have a student who wants to go for a competition, I'll always say to them, look, competitions are really difficult to win. They're not easy to win, and it might just be that you're not what they're looking for on the day.
Yeah.
If you want to do it, use the process to learn to conquer your nerves, learn to sing in front of people you don't know, learn to challenge yourself to learn a song every week for whatever it is. Take things from it and learn from it, and then use that. Like, don't focus on the win. Like, go and do your best.
Exactly.
Just enjoy the audience participation, the performance of it, all that, and enjoy like building up your set list as well. You have all these songs, then you can.
Yeah.
Especially teenagers when they're old enough to go gig, and they'll have like a little set list of songs from doing all these.
That's all the competitions, because I remember as well. You probably remember this from them, that like you'd have a song picked, and then if you heard somebody else doing the same song, like that was detrimental. You're like, no, my song's gone. So it's always good to have like backup. Have a list of songs that you feel as good about, than the one you might have chosen.
And actually, that just makes me think of something that I could just say is advice about that. So I'm really bad at learning lyrics off. So I really struggled with that anytime I was doing any kind of audition or competition. But what I would say, if I was looking back, is I should have been building up a set list. So what I always say to my students now is, let's build your set list. Let's literally have an A4 page, write set list at the top. Every time we do a song, we write it on it. So then when you go to do an audition, you have this whole set of songs that you can choose from that you've worked on. Because otherwise you're like, if you're someone like me who finds it difficult to learn lyrics off, it's like panic. And then when you're stressed trying to get it done as well, that can like make it even worse, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's horrible. Like, I don't know, the whole lyrics thing with me, I always find some songs I know, like I could listen to them twice and I'd know it. And then some, it'll take me like a month to learn the lyrics. It's just weird, the whole lyrics thing, isn't it?
Yeah. It's definitely like to do with, I suppose, the way you learn stuff as well,
Yeah.
So then after The Voice, you got asked to collab with a very well-known Irish artist called Paddy Casey.
Yes. Yeah.
How did that come about? Do you want to tell us about that experience?
Yeah, like that was amazing. Because I've always been a massive fan of Paddy. I think he's one of the best Irish songwriters out there. And I remember coming off the show, and it was about like 6 months, and I cried my eyes out in the semi-final when I got thrown out. And he was kind of liking a couple of things on my page, and I was like, is that actually his page? I was thinking
you didn't believe it,
page or something. And then he sent me a message, and he was like, great performance on the show. And I was like, oh, thanks so much. And he was like, oh, do you write? And I was like, well, I've only started, because I had only started in my early 20s.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, would you be up for writing a track? And I was like, are you serious? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, yeah. Absolutely. So we just, I went down to his house and we started writing, and we came out with Out of Control. We wrote another few tracks then as well. Like we always kind of say we're going to do another song, but obviously at the minute it's so hard to kind of even drive to anybody's house. But I think we will eventually do another one. But that was an incredible experience.
Yeah, and it's a lovely song as well. I'll pop the link in the description if anyone wants to listen to it who hasn't heard it. And so after that whole experience happened, that was probably like a whirlwind for a few weeks. Like what did you gain from that, and what did you learn from that whole experience?
I think it really kind of made me believe in myself as a songwriter, because I'd started songwriting after The Voice, kind of thinking, right, I have to get original stuff out now. I've been writing bits and pieces, but I kind of was like, oh, I don't really like that. I'm not a real songwriter. I can't do this kind of thing. But then when I started writing with Paddy, it kind of made me realize that I could write. And, I watched how he processed, a song and stuff like that. And I learned so much from the songwriting world from him. And, that feels amazing that I've done that. And then obviously I toured with him when we were releasing the song. We did like Vicar Street and Whelan's and stuff like that together. And that was amazing as well.
Wow.
So, and then I actually got to perform in the Olympia, which is like one of my big goals with them, for a charity event, which was amazing. Wow. So yeah, that was kind of all mad. And it was nice because when The Voice was over, I kind of just thought, oh, my music career is over now, it's finished. But then when I got that, I was like, oh yeah, I kind of felt like not like a loser.
Yeah, I know, but that's the thing though, like at the end of the day, these shows, like you're there, you get the spotlight and you have a bit of momentum, but then once they're finished with you, they're moving on to the next contestant. So do they
like a conveyor belt, it really is. And I knew that kind of I didn't know it entering the show like that. I'd gone for the X Factor like yourself a few times before The Voice, but never got onto the TV stage. And then I remember when I did get the call for The Voice that I got onto it, I was like, oh, amazing. Like, this is going to make me for life kind of thing. But when I seen the process throughout, I kind of went, this is, they're just churning them out. And then next season, is the new kind of group. And so it's such pressure. Like, it really is. Yeah.
Yeah. I know. Yeah. It's so hard. like people are always saying to, like, probably you as well and me, like, why don't you go on The Voice? Why don't you go on The Voice? I'm like, no, I don't know. I just don't think it's for me, like, and the reason being was, I suppose I went down the like being in a band songwriter route after like that competition and stuff. That was kind of the start of me, like just before I started a band. But you also released an album and a couple of an EP and then the single with Paddy as well, didn't you?
Yeah, I released the single with Paddy, and so we're thinking about releasing another one as well at some point.
That's called Out of Control.
Like, Out of Control.
Yeah.
But he'll probably hear this and be like, "Would you ever start writing with me again?" Because he's always, saying we should do something, and I'm saying it, but it's just kind of, I don't know. I think just life gets in the way sometimes, but especially at the minute, it's just mad. But and then I released my own EP as
The
well.
Other Woman.
Yes, which is out on Spotify now as well. So I would love if anybody could have a listen to it.
Yeah, there's actually some really lovely songs on it. I had a little listen as well. There's some lovely. There's one that you did with another guy.
Yeah,
was that The Other Woman? The song The Other Woman?
No, it's called Trouble.
Oh, that one's Trouble. Yeah. That one was beautiful. I loved that one. The duet was gorgeous.
Yeah, so Ben, actually, it was funny how we met. He was in a competition called Teen Stars, because Ben, he's really, really young. I think he's 20 or 21 now. But he's got his own band called Dakota now, who are amazing. But I met him when 4 years previous, I think he was 16, and I was judging a competition called Teen Stars that he was in. And I just remember being blown away by his voice. And when I wrote Trouble then, I was like, this has to be a duet. Like, I wanted to be a duet, and I could hear Ben's voice on it, and I just asked him, did he want to do it? And he did it. So yeah, his
voice is really stunning. And I was like, wonder what age he was in the video, like, but he does look very young, but his voice sounds so mature.
I know, like,
really mature.
I couldn't believe it when I was doing the Teen Stars, and he got up and sang, and I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, he's just so natural, and he sounded like a recording artist when he was 16.
It's amazing. Really, really amazing. And you've also done other recording work as well. Like, I think I saw you post, and I think it was Stuart Gray you were doing a bit of session work with, and probably some other people as well. Do you want to tell us a bit about that side of the industry and that kind of side of session work and recording vocals for other people and stuff?
Yeah, that's it's an interesting one, that, because I did a lot of that with Larry, actually, the guy who did the Boots campaign with, but he would get a song from, it could be a songwriter from Australia or America or whatever, and they just, can't sing the song themselves, so they'd get a singer to do it. But it's unusual because you get all different styles, country music, rock music, pop, and you have to kind of just adjust your voice to that style, because the songwriter's expecting to hear it exactly how they imagine it,
Yeah.
And then with Stuart, I first started working with him, I think it was straight after The Voice as well, because I met him during The Voice, because he was actually doing some guitar sessioning on stage and stuff like that. So we got chatting and everything, and then we start working together. I mean, his studio is incredible. I love it.
Yeah.
You should visit it. Have you been there?
Yeah, I actually did. I recorded like vocals for what was the name of the album now? I actually can't even remember the name of the album. It's gone out of my head. This kind of obscure artist, like it was like the album was kind of an amalgam of like lots of different kind of styles of music. It seemed like he was kind of just throwing it out there, seeing what happened. But it was really cool. I got to record backing vocals and stuff on like loads of songs. But it was a really challenging day in the studio, actually.
Really?
Yeah, I found it very challenging because I thought I was going in to do like one song. And then it was like, you're actually doing like the whole album, which was like 12 songs or something. And then it was like, we also went to
in one
vocals
day?
on this other song. And what?
In one day you do 12 songs?
Yeah, in the whole, in one day. And then it was like I would have a decent ear for like harmonies, but like usually when I did session jobs beforehand, it was like the person would send me the music and I'd get time to like work it out. And I'd have the harmonies kind of learned off, but I was having to come up with it with songs I only just heard for the first time on the spot, and like I was so paranoid that I wasn't doing a good job for the whole day. Like, but like listening back to the songs, they sound pretty good. Like, so I mustn't have done too bad, but it was very difficult. It was very challenging.
Go, girl!
The studio was amazing.
One day, that's amazing. That's impressive. Yeah, and to not be prepared for it as well, to just be told, "Oh yeah, we're doing 12 songs." Like, what? Yeah.
Like I kept saying, "Can you send me on the songs so I can like listen to them first?" He's like,
"Yeah."
Just kept kind of fobbing me off, and we got in there. Like, but like they were so professional. Like, and the songwriter was super nice. Really interesting guy. I loved just some of the songs on the album. Like, it was just such a diverse album, you know. But it's kind of cool doing that kind of session work because you get to sing in different styles and maybe what you wouldn't normally do, you know, for your own songwriting and stuff, which is part of the joy of being a vocalist. You're not just an artist, but a vocalist, because you get to sing all these different styles.
Yeah, no, I do. That's actually such a good point, because from the session work, you get to actually, you feel like you're a vocalist because you've been hired in to do a job, and it could be totally out of what you're used to doing song wise, but you just do it because you've been hired to do it. And that's it feels nice, doesn't it? It's
so good.
Yeah.
And so, you know, like if you're sent a song, you were saying about having to like kind of morph into like different genres and stuff like that. Like, how would you go about that? What's the process of like learning to sing a rock song or something like that?
I think with myself, I have, because people always say to me, what's your favorite kind of type of music? But I love, like, from classic to rock, I love absolutely everything. Like, one day, it depends what mood I'm in. One day I could be listening to rock all day. The next day, I could listen to classical music all day. But obviously I do love pop stuff.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, if I have been sent a kind of a rockier type song, I just kind of throw on a rock album and kind of sing along to it and get myself in that zone.
Yeah.
So, I think that's the best way to kind of approach it for me anyway. Would you find that, or how do you kind of...
Yeah, definitely like listen to the music of that genre, or like picking specific artists that I want to kind of channel. I know I read an interview you did online. If I think it was I don't know who it was with actually, but you said you mentioned Annie Lennox as one of the vocalists that you love, and I love her as well. She's amazing.
Oh, she's
so good.
Like, I just love her. I remember, like, one of my favorite songs ever is "No More I Love You." But it's one of my favorites. And I remember, like, when I was about 8, I heard it first, and I just kept like putting on repeat. I think my mum had a CD of Annie Lennox, and when you listen to it now, the lyrics are actually quite dark. You know, it's about demons and all this kind of thing. And I was like, I was obsessed with that when I was so young, but I was fascinated by her voice. I just thought it was just so haunting and beautiful, and I love her.
It's really just about like a little bit of mimicking as well, like, you know, putting on the artist and trying to like mimic what they do and trying to create the tone or the, you know, whether it's breathy or a bit of growl or whatever it is, trying to like mimic that and find your way to do it.
Yeah, isn't it? Yeah, because it's amazing how they all kind of set a tone. Like Kate Bush as well is another one that I absolutely love. But like, she just has that kind of thing where it's hers, and so does Annie Lennox, and it's just, I love kind of figuring out how they're getting their voice to sound like that as well. They're using different sections of their voice, and, you know, Kate Bush is very falsetto, and it's like, how do they just kind of do it so perfect as well? I get fascinated by that.
Yeah, and I'm just wondering as well, like, because I would have came from, like, obviously I do coaching now, but I spent the last few years like studying that and like learning kind of how to to do that. But for me, it was a process of like, many years being a performer and a singer, but then people were like, you should sing, you should teach singing. And I'm like, I don't know how to teach singing. But then it was just about a process of like figuring out what was happening with the voice and like how I was making the sounds I was making and how to improve the sounds I was making.
Yeah.
So how did you figure that out? Did you do it all by ear? Did you do any vocal coaching yourself? Like, as in, did you get lessons yourself or any training?
Yeah, I did a couple of lessons with Kathy Vard, actually, from the Vard sisters a few years back. It was just after The Voice, actually. I was like, right, I'm going to get a few singing lessons. And I felt like I needed to do it for my confidence as well, because I did feel a little knocked after the whole thing. But I went and did a few with her, which was amazing because she's very relaxed and everything. But that was the only vocal lessons I did in my whole life. The rest of it was just like yourself, just kind of getting fascinated by how different singers use their voice. And I'm very kind of dynamic driven with my coaching. Like I'm all about like the whole soft singing and then singing loud, whereas it doesn't always have to be big to sound good, you know, and I love that. Like I love that whole thing. And then also the emotion as well, connected to lyrics and stuff like that. That's what I kind of base my whole thing around.
It's so important,
isn't it? Yeah.
I think sometimes people get too caught up in like the technique and they forget about the connection to the lyrics and that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's the thing. And that's why I was kind of always very scared to get too much training. I know you can never learn enough, but you know, I didn't want to sound technically amazing. Do you know? I wanted to kind of have those little flaws in places where it kind of sound nice. You know, like imperfections are lovely in vocals as well. Like obviously it has to be in tune and everything else, but you know, sometimes I find too trained doesn't sound, it's just not what I kind of like.
It loses some soul, I think, you know.
Yeah.
Like, there's definitely like singers that I know who are technically brilliant. Like they could riff you know, around the house or whatever, riff rings around you, should I say. But, you know, I wouldn't necessarily like the sound of their voice, or I wouldn't be moved by what they're singing.
Exactly. That's the thing. Like, because, you know, you hear, as you just said, you hear some singers and they do all this agility and they're doing all these runs and you're like, wow, that's amazing. But I wouldn't feel anything from it, you know. And then I could hear the likes of Billie Eilish, who isn't the biggest, which is the biggest artist in the world at the minute, but she's not a belter, but her voice just does it for me. I just think, you know, she's so emotive, and that's what I absolutely love. I love that whole kind of emotional singing. Billie
Eilish, I couldn't stop talking about Billie Eilish like for the last couple of years. I just felt like it was really exciting that the younger generation were being introduced to like a singer that doesn't just sound like Adele. Like we didn't want another Adele. Do you know what I'm saying? Even though Adele's amazing.
Exactly how I felt. Yeah.
It's like just something with a little bit more character. It doesn't sound like everything else that's coming off what did you call it?
Yeah. Yeah, because music in the last 5 years, you know, I think kind of styles for me, the early 2000s, it really kind of started turning into the one kind of sound. Like I love 90s, 80s, 70s and everything before that as well. But early 2000s, I felt was excellent. But then after that, it was like everything just sounded the same. But then when Billie Eilish came out, and MGK I love as well, because he's kind of bringing back that whole, you know, punk sound.
Who's MGK? I don't think I know who that is.
Machine Gun Kelly.
Never heard of him, I don't think.
You have to check him out. He's so good.
Is he like a new artist?
Yeah, well, I think he got Album of the Year or something with the MTV Awards.
Oh, wow, I must check him out.
Yeah, he's really good. But like the two of them for me are just kind of, you know, as you say, they don't sound like everybody else. And Billie Eilish, it is amazing because so many of my students, and you probably noticed this as well, they love singing her songs. And I'm delighted because she is a really, really amazing artist. So rather than coming in and singing the typical kind of Adeles or the Whitney Houstons and all that, it's just nice to kind of hear something different, you know?
Yeah, and I think when singers are very young, they don't necessarily have the ear yet to kind of hear all the different nuances that are in certain singers' voices. So they just sing at kind of everything in the one voice quality and the one volume type thing, you know? But I think that's just part of the process. Like, you know, as you perform more and sing more and learn more about the voice and listen to more music, you start absorbing all these different elements, and your musicality gets better, and then things start falling into place then with the voice as well.
Yeah, that's so true because, like, don't get me wrong, I love Adele and I love Whitney Houston and God, they're amazing. But, I think for younger singers listening to them, and I made that mistake as well, trying to sing big, massive vocalist songs isn't really the best way to find your voice. I think it's starting off with the more kind of timid vocals and figuring out if you can go to those places rather than just giving yourself the shock of trying to sing one of the biggest songs of all time or something and realizing that that's just, and it can knock your confidence as well. It's like, why can't I do that? So
Yeah.
like, less is more, I think.
Yeah, you're so right. Because I don't know, there's something about how it, like, I remember I sang a song in a talent show. It was like in the local kind of nightclub. Back in my hometown in Newbridge. It was called Swift's Got Talent.
Yeah.
And I remember I sung True Colours, Cyndi Lauper.
Oh, I love that song. Yeah.
And I was I had been doing the competition with like a band, like my band were performing with me, which is my first experience ever performing with a band. It's when I first put my band together. But for this one song, we decided just to do it with me and the piano player.
Yeah.
And me and him worked together, like, to kind of landscape the song dynamically. And I felt weird singing so softly and like gently. I was like, I'm not really singing, I'm almost like whispering. And he was like, no, I swear, do this and it'll work out so well for you. And honestly, I think it was one of the songs that got the biggest reaction out of all the sons that I did. Did Beyonce, did everything, like. And that was one of the songs people just really connected with it. I remember a friend saying to me, the look in your eyes, you looked so sad, and like it was just so moving.
You just captured the audience with it.
Yeah, it just really showed me.
You still captured the audience. Yeah. I'd love to hear that.
It's on YouTube, but like, Jesus, it was years and years ago,
I'm going on to check that out because I love that song and I love your voice as well. It's amazing.
Oh, thank you. I don't sing enough though. I don't know about you, but like, I know you're actually pretty good. You're one of the people that does put up covers regularly enough. Like you do, even little snippets here and there.
Yeah, I try my best. Like I find, like they do take up time because, as I do get, I did a kind of a good run of them. I think a couple of years ago, I was putting them up every week, on my Facebook page, and I was taking requests and stuff like that. But now that I've started recording again, I find it's just it does take time to go in and pick a cover and be happy with it. And, it does, it's because people, I think, sometimes think you just sit down and do it and it's a few minutes and you pop it up. But like, I'm so picky.
Yeah. You're like going through it.
Yeah, analysing everything. No, I don't like that. Need to change it or whatever. But I'm like yourself. I want to get a bit more regular with the videos as well, like singing videos. It's because it makes you feel good as well doing them,
It does. And I don't know what it is. Like I think it's just like a fear of like being told where it's not good, like, or something. But I kind of think we should just put it out anyway, because at the end of the day, not everyone's going to like what you do anyway. So you can't expect everyone to like what you do, know. And like genuinely, there's always so much amazing support for anything that we put up, like, and that's such a boost, But it does take time. Like I put one up. When did I put it up? Oh, it was just before Halloween. I think around Halloween, around that time, I put up one cover, which I learned from it though, because I had recorded just the voice and I didn't record any video. And my boyfriend was like, you have to put a video up, like people like to see a video. And for God's sake. So then I had to go and try and like do the playback, and like mime along to my song, which was really hard because I hadn't got the rhythm down on the song yet either. So every time I sung it, it was a bit different. So the video was a bit dodged, but at least you have something to look at, But
oh no, I love your videos. That's why I'm always like, I love when, and sometimes I do think that if they are kind of not all the time, you appreciate them more as well, and that's what I kind of feel. But then I'm like, oh no, I should be kind of putting out more, like, because you hear these new songs coming out, you're like, oh, you should get on top of it and do a cover. And I don't know.
I don't know about you, but I get very obsessed about the teaching side of things and kind of focusing in on lesson plans and kind of the songs for the students and kind of forget about myself. But I think this is the year. Yeah. This is the year for myself. I don't know about you.
Of course. Yeah. self-love and kind of pushing yourself a bit more. Because I'm the same with my students as well. Like I'd be like, oh, I'll cover this song, and then I'd be like, actually no, that would suit so and so. I'm going to write down a few notes about that, and then I forget about it, and I'm planning it for one of my students. You know, I think that it does happen a lot. You get kind of sidetracked. Like yeah.
You did advertise for like some online masterclasses and stuff at some point. Was it about a year or so ago? Is that still a thing? Like, or how did that go for you?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm kind of doing at the minute. So that's what I kind of call it, is the masterclass. The reason why I call it that is just because it's like what I do with my students mainly is get them to master a song really well. So I'll, give them a song and, go through each section of it and get them to master, and then master the dynamic of their vocal and stuff like that. So that's why I named it that. But yeah, I started that at lockdown, and yeah, it's still going great. Like I couldn't believe it, like the way it took off. I didn't expect it because I had no other choice but to kind of do that, and I've always loved teaching. I did a bit of it years ago when I was in Teen Stars, and I was teaching a bit then, and I loved it. But then when lockdown happened, I said, look, I could do it online, and I started, and it just took off.
Amazing. Is it group classes, or is it one-to-one, or?
It's one-to-one, yeah.
Yeah.
One-to-one. Yeah.
Very good.
It's brilliant. And how about yourself? Do you love doing it as well? Yeah.
Yeah, like I've been teaching now since 2017, I think, around then.
Really?
You too, is it?
Yeah, no, I'm since a year ago now. Yeah, a year now. Yeah.
Yeah, and like it was really a case of like people just kept saying to me you should do singing lessons, and I was like, I don't really know how to do singing lessons, because like I didn't do much singing lessons myself when I was younger. I have now in the last 3 years or so. I've gone to a good few singing lessons myself. But I didn't really know the format or like what you do in a singing lesson, or even like the different. I downloaded like lots of like backing tracks and things, like the Funky and Fun, Janice.
Yeah.
Whatever her name is, Janice Chaplin, is it? No.
Yeah.
Funky and Fun, anyway, all those. And like they really helped kind of give me, content for the lessons and stuff. But yeah, I'm loving it. Like I only teach 1 day a week now because I'm back in college, so that's a full-time degree.
What are you doing in college?
Yeah, I went back last year. So
what are you studying?
I went back to do a music degree.
Oh, amazing. Go you.
I know, because I spent literally like my whole 20s like going and doing different diplomas and this and that, like performing arts, music, events management, psychology, and all these different things going on, and kept coming back to music. And then I was like, you know what, I'm just going to go do it. I want to do a degree. I want to achieve that in my lifetime. So
yeah, no, that's amazing. And especially with doing the lessons as well, you're tying into that, and that's incredible. Well done.
Yeah. It's great. Like I'm definitely learning a lot about kind of, I suppose, more like lesson planning and stuff like that. Like I would have done a lot of research myself online, but like I guess I'm kind of learning like the way they format the lessons in college. Like they'll have, like maybe like an etude, like a little vocal study thing that you learn every semester that has different kind of challenges in it, and different scales and like oral training and different things. So like it's kind of given me a bit of direction in that sense, kind of to polish up the lessons. I would say, though, at this point, I'm only in my second year now, but I don't think you need to do a degree to do any vocal coaching or anything like that, just if anyone else is wondering. Like, because everything that I've learned about that, I've learned by doing my own research and doing courses and stuff, and then from my own performance experience, so it's definitely...
I was going to ask you that, is it, because I've studied performance in the Gaiety, but that's the only kind of qualification I have. I teach based on experience and gigging and stuff like that. But I was going to ask you, do you think it's worth doing it for teaching, or you don't think so? Really?
The degree, no. If you were asking me, like, if you said you wanted to start going into like coaching or whatever, what should I do? Like I started off as well when I first started coaching, the same as you. Like I was teaching based on experience, and I was more focused on like the performance coaching side of things, and the dynamics and connection to the lyrics and like that kind of side of things, and then showing them how to warm up their voice and vocal health as well and stuff like that. The basic. That side of things. I started off like that, but then I just wanted to learn more about the voice. I wanted to learn more about the technique and like what's actually physically happening and with the anatomy and stuff like that. So I started doing like different courses. Like I don't know if you ever heard of the BAST course.
No.
It's called Be a Singing Teacher.
Oh, right.
You
Oh,
want
I
to,
have. Yes.
yeah, if you want to
Yeah.
learn more, like if you want to go down that side of coaching, I would recommend it.
Yeah.
Definitely, like, because it taught me how to like diagnose voices and stuff like that. Like
Yeah.
to listen to a voice and hear if there's like too much tongue tension and things
All
like
that
that.
kind of
So,
thing.
like, I'm still learning. Like, it's always going to be a learning process, like forever. You
But
know?
that's the thing, like, because you hear of, and this is no disrespect to anybody who's done a music degree, I think that's amazing, or, BIM or anything like that. But, I think it's like, as you just said, you're always going to be learning. So even if you have done a course or a degree and you come out then and you start gigging, I think that's, where a lot of the learning happens as well. And I think it's just, you're always just going to be learning. So that's why I'm kind of like, I love it though. I love that. I think that's what makes the industry so exciting as well. Obviously at the minute, it's not the most exciting place, but I think it's great when you even like learn different songs and stuff. You're like, oh, I didn't even know I had that part of my voice. So yourself kind of just,
There's a lot to say. Like I have to say a lot of what I incorporate into lessons and my own experience to date has been from actually just going out and doing it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's some, like, say, people in college who are just out of school, like, and haven't done much performing, gigging and stuff like that. They might have done other things, musical theatre and that, but like they will still learn a lot from the course. But I think the real learning, the real work is going to be done when they actually get out in the real world and start gigging.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they'll have a great foundation there. So like there's so many different approaches and ways that you can
they can go about it.
Navigate your way through the world of the music industry.
Yeah.
And so you mentioned as well about how much the music industry has changed.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk a little bit about that side of things?
Yeah, I think it's weird, like, because, years ago to build up a following, it was kind of nearly like, you had to organically do it. As you say, you and I used to go out and do the pub competitions and the nightclub competitions, and you have to kind of pull crowds in with you. There was no social media or anything like that. It was all just kind of like, oh, will you come texting to my competition that I'm doing? And you'd be trying to get bus loads to go to these competitions. But now, and then obviously the whole CD world as well, you were trying to sell CDs or whatever. And now it's like everything's online. It's all based online. Like, it's just like Spotify, like, and I miss that whole kind of world of having, I know that CDs are still sold and stuff, but I just miss that whole world of the hard copy CD and organically having to do stuff. It's just more natural. And I think the way it's gone now is a bit kind of sad.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's a weird thing because it's kind of like Spotify, for example, has like given artists a platform.
Yeah.
But to be honest, I really don't think Spotify is that great. Like like unless you have a huge fan base, your music's not going to be pushed to people. Like people are not going to see it, and it's a weird thing. Like basically, the way it works is, like, I thought when I subscribed to Spotify as a listener, that the money that I pay every month, my 10 or 15 euro, will be split between the artists that I listen to. So I'd be there, like, playing the artists that I listen to, trying to give them some plays. But that's not how it works. It's not how it works. No, it's not how it works. So basically how it works is the whole, like, the people who have like the most following, they get the most money. And your money gets divided out into like this like worldwide pot of money. And they get the bigger, they actually get the bigger chunk of that. Like, I think it should change that so that, like, if I listen to just you for this next month, you get my whole 10 or 15 euro.
Yeah. I'll be like, Rebecca, thanks, you get me a tenner.
Do you know what I mean? Like, obviously the record labels and Spotify themselves have to take a cut, but like the rest, that leftover money should go to you. I don't think it should be split the way it's split. I think it's very, very unfair for any artist who doesn't have like a worldwide following.
No, and like, it is so hard to get any kind of following on it. I find myself, it's like I probably should push it a bit more, but it's just, I just find it's like, it's impossible to get a following on it really, unless you're getting on these playlists or, it gets in something like Love Island or something like that. It's just a weird one, Spotify. I feel, there's a kind of a lot of favoritism goes on in it. And, I think Taylor Swift had a big problem with it at one stage, didn't she?
I forget what it was, but I think there was something there, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I just kind of don't get that whole world. I just don't think it's very real feeling or something.
Well, for anyone who's wondering, the best way to support an artist is to buy a hard copy of their CD. Now, you might not ever listen to the actual CD, but download the digital track as well for €1 and listen to it on Spotify. Listen to it on Spotify anyway, but like buy the CD. Like that's the best way to support an artist. Buy the CD, buy the merch.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I'd love if like the whole turntable world came back as well and there was records. Like I love that.
Yeah. Well, there was like a bit of a boom on records over the last few years, yeah, but I haven't heard too much about it like recently. It was more like of a niche thing, but a lot of people were buying record players and like my boyfriend's band Crow Black Chicken, they would have ordered vinyls.
Okay.
The last time they ordered like for the late, whatever the last album is, they have 5 albums.
I didn't realize your boyfriend is a musician as well. So 2 musicians.
I know, yeah. And Gus is a drummer, right?
Yeah.
So just for anyone who doesn't know. And my boyfriend's a bass player, so.
Yeah, because I remember people used to always say to me, 2 musicians in a relationship just won't work. I don't know why people say that. I don't know, maybe it's just like the creative minds or something. It's, yeah.
No, like, honestly, I think there might have only been like 1 or 2 people that I've dated over the years that weren't musicians.
Oh, really?
Like, I just don't think, because I remember before I dated a guy and he didn't like the fact that, like, you know, after a gig I'd be out networking and socializing. He was jealous. Okay. And I think
it's not going to work.
It's not going to work. So I think if you like with a musician dating a musician will understand the industry, and they'll understand if you have to go off for a few weeks on tour. They'll understand if you have to go off and do a bit of networking, you know.
Yeah.
Whatever, you know. But anyone who's not in the industry, they might not have that same understanding. They might find it difficult to know. And as well with our work, because it's so sporadic that we kind of have to go when it comes.
Oh yeah, it's like, you're like snapping it up. Yeah.
100%. Did you ever tour? You said you did a bit of touring with Paddy Casey. Did you tour with your own music at all?
No, like I did Whelan's with my own music, and I did Ruby sessions, and I kind of did all the ones in Dublin to launch it and stuff like that. But I didn't actually go around touring, and you know, I think it was because I did get so kind of caught up in doing weddings that I did forget about kind of touring my original stuff a bit, and that's why I kind of, if I was to ever do an album again, which I hope to, I would make sure that I put 110% into it to tour it, because it obviously makes such a difference. Like if you're touring it, if you could get on a support slot, that would be amazing. I think that's really the way to get yourself out there in front of a mass audience, you know? Yeah,
because like even say my partner's band, like sometimes they make more money selling merch than they do than say like the door fee or the fee the venue pays them. So like there's a lot of, like, I think touring is a great way, gigging live is a great way to sell merch.
It is,
because people almost see it like kind of like a little token from the gig as well, you know.
Yeah, something that you can take home and have memory from the night or whatever. Yeah, it's lovely.
Kim, I think that like down the line we should like organize some kind of like female gig where maybe we pick a theme and like get a bunch of girls together and just
have it. Yeah, absolutely. I was only thinking that like throughout the call there, I was like, I'd love to set up something with you, like, you know, and even collaborate, write something together as well.
Yeah,
and
that'd be cool. Yeah,
on the song, and you know, have a launch the single or something like that. Definitely.
Yeah, it's great.
We could look at.
Yeah, definitely, because I definitely think like collaborating is a great way to go, you know, because
I love it.
Yeah, it's like it's fun and you get to meet people and kind of work in a different creative way to like the way you normally work. And
yeah, I love collaborating because like it just, you get to learn so much about the other artists and songwriter as well, and you're both learning from each other, and it's really lovely.
Yeah, so tell us where you'd like people to check you out, and do you have anything coming up?
Okay, so I have my Facebook page, which is just Kim Hayden Music, and then the same on Instagram. I haven't joined the whole TikTok realm yet. I don't know, have you joined that yet?
No.
On my reaction. No.
I know, because I get so overwhelmed with social media. Like I do Instagram really. I have a Facebook account which is kind of linked to my Instagram, but
yeah,
I don't know. It's just there's a lot, isn't there, to keep up on.
That's the thing. I just think with TikTok, I'm like, it's another thing that's going to take up time.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of these things, like, you know, Snapchat was huge for a while as well. I think Instagram and Facebook seem to be kind of the really bedding ones that
consistent
are staying around. Yeah. So I'm like, oh, I don't know if I want to waste a couple of hours a day on it and then it's gone out of trend, you know. Yeah, that's how I feel about it. But yeah, Facebook, Instagram is where you can find me, Spotify as well. And please have a listen to the album. And
yeah, I'll pop all your links into the description of the video anyway, so people can check them out nice and easily. There's lots of like cool videos for them to watch, and yeah, definitely. Have you got a Bandcamp actually where people can like buy hard copies of your music or anything?
No, but that's something that I'd love to do. Yeah, yeah. So what do you do with that? You see, I'm terrible with some of this stuff. I never know. But like, do a Bandcamp thing where you can get CDs.
Yeah, it's just like a website. Most bands just use it. Like you can have a bio and stuff on that, like that kind of like a profile. But you can like set up a shop for merch and CDs and stuff like that. And people can download digital copy, but they can also order like hard copies of your albums and EPs and t-shirts or whatever you want to have uploaded on it.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, I'll send you the link to mine afterwards. Just so you can see what it's like. But a lot of artists now would have a Bandcamp, like for it's kind of where they sell their merch.
Yeah. And have you been doing much songwriting yourself, Rebecca?
Do you know, I've literally had this conversation a couple of times. I haven't. But I've been so wanting to for like the last year. I've been really, really craving to write. But I've just like been so busy with mainly teaching. It's really taken away from the creative side of like writing and stuff for me.
Yeah.
And then obviously the degree as well. So like I just really want to dedicate this year to like writing again.
Yeah,
into that side.
It's very important. And I think now is, you know, there's no better time really than to do that and, you know, get creative. And yeah, because like writing is so therapeutic, I find. Yeah,
like I had a guy messaged me a while ago and he asked if I would do like a kind of a collaboration with him. Yeah. And I was like, yes. So hopefully that will happen. We'll see how that goes. That'll be probably kind of like bluesy, kind of something along with the bluesy genre. But I think I have a little goal of my own to release a single this year.
Oh, amazing! Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah, it won't be under like the band name She Speaks, but it'll probably be. I might come up with like. I just don't like the idea of like selling. I don't like the idea of my own name. My name is shit, like as a stage name. So I want to like come up with some stage name, but I feel.
Well, like, how do you say it?
Rebecca Kyo.
Rebecca Kyo.
It doesn't really like sound very.
It does.
Beautiful or anything. So.
Rebecca Kyo. No, I do like that. Or else it's like Rebecca.
Yeah, I thought of that as well. I did think of just Rebecca. Yeah, that could work.
Yeah. Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah, it is exciting. And have you plans to write this year, like your own stuff, or?
No, you see, what's happened with me is kind of with the covers have kind of really taken over because we've done about 7 now, but we're aiming to get like 12 of them done, like an album's worth. And I think that's what we're just really trying to churn out. And we don't want to rush them either because we're obviously being very kind of, you know, we're really making sure that we're happy with them. So I think as soon as the 12 of them are done, then I'll feel like, right, okay, here we go. I'm going to write something. Take a break from the covers for a while and write them.